You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. And today, man, we have another special guest. We're going to talk to a music artist. And guess what, man? This guy is a different time zone, He's overseas. I'm here in the United States, and we're going to learn where he is in a minute. But first and foremost, we're going to be talking to Don Mai. He is not just involved with his amazing acoustic guitar or piano skills. He does multiple instruments, and he does great music with acoustic sound. And we're going to talk about some of his recent music, but we're also going to learn about his personal story outside of the music industry. So first, Don, how you doing?
Hey, Shamaya. I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Like you were saying, I'm in a different time zone, so over here it's only 8 a.m. It's still really early, but I'm so excited to be on your show.
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for asking. So before we jump into like your recent music that you've been putting out there, tell us a little bit about yourself. And because I've read that, you got a little classical piano going. So tell us, how did you get involved into music?
So funny story enough was that both my parents are musicians. So my mum's a singer, my dad's a piano player. But growing up, I never actually, they never forced me to play music or got me to interested in it. And just one day there was this piano at my grandparents' house, and I just fell in love with it and just wanted to play the piano. So my dad got me started on lessons, and then eventually I hated it because then it was classical music and I just didn't feel any passion for it. So I ended up quitting, and then eventually just started picking up new instruments such as guitar and singing, and then eventually piano again, but learning it in pop style. And yeah, I just fell in love with music all over again.
And you have a wide range of influences as far as different artists who inspire you to have your sound, because your sound is not one specific genre. It's kind of a mix of multiple genres. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm really inspired by singer-songwriters, especially the ones who are not well known, because they're able to write in so many genres. They're the reason behind so many hits on the charts that you hear on the billboards. My inspirations are people such as Charlie Puth, Ryan Tedder, Jon Bellion. They're all masterminds behind the recent charts on the songs that you hear on the radio today. And most people don't even know, some people haven't heard of Jon Bellion, and he's written probably over 20 songs on the top 100 charts that you hear that are just going straight to the top 10. And I think it's just so amazing that they're able to write in so many different genres while still being just so versatile. And for me as an artist, I want to be like that, kind of like Rihanna in a way, where she's able to sing across multiple different genres, but in my own way, where I'm able to not constrain myself to just one genre. Because usually the singer-songwriters, they have their own sound, but they write for others. And I want to have my own sound, but also have songs that you would expect to hear from others that are my own, if that kind of makes sense.
Definitely. And once again, we're talking to Don Mai. And you as an artist, you started your journey about 2015. So take us back to when you decide, okay, this is something I'm actually going to take serious and do it professionally.
So honestly, it was coming out of high school. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And it was around the time, I think I started singing when I was 16. So that was around 2012. And yeah, that was when the passion started picking up. And that was when I first started posting covers, did like my first talent show in high school with my friend. It was horrible because, you know, we were both just starting out and was just excited about the whole thing. But, you know, everyone's got to start from somewhere. And even if you hear my early covers, it's really rough, but it's just, I just had the passion there. Like, it was just so much fun creating it that, like, out of high school, I was like, maybe I'll just audition for a music uni and see how it goes. And yeah, from then everything just started snowballing. I learned how to play other instruments. I learned how to songwrite. I learned how to perform. And like, I'm a type of person that always likes to learn new things. Like, I kind of get bored if I just stick to one thing. So I'm always moving on to the next. And eventually it's just developed into the set of tools that I have today.
Now, once you are in the industry, I mean, you're in it. And the good news is there's always opportunity. The not so good news is everybody is doing what they got to do to basically trying to get to the top. In other words, everyone's in it too. Everyone can release it. It's so easy to release music now. How do you keep yourself like focus on what you're trying to do as an artist personally versus trying to compete with everyone else who are also trying to make waves in the industry?
In the early stage of my career, when I did start at the university, it was pretty tough, like having so much competition, you know, because like everyone's like amazing. I was just this person who just started singing 3 years ago and like didn't really have any lessons. And even guitar, I was just learning from YouTube. So like I found myself comparing to other artists pretty often. And that would put me down because I didn't feel like I was good enough. And, you know, maybe kind of put my skills a little bit in a shell. But like under pressure, I kind of shine more. Like I feel like I always feel very closed up until I get to this point where all this pressure builds up and I just kind of unleash it and it forces me to be myself somehow. And yeah, like from then I just found that like I just need to stay in my own lane. And like, because when you dwell yourself on other competition too much, when you compare yourself, it's not a good set of mind frame to have. And eventually, like I learned, I just need to do me. Like if people don't like my music, that's okay. Because even the biggest artists all over the world, like there's always going to be someone who hates them. Like you can't please everyone. You just got to do you and bring what you have to the table. And eventually you draw an audience that do like your music. And if they hate it, fair enough. Some people are, sorry, I was just thinking, what's that saying again? Even bad media is good media, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's okay if like people hate you, you know, because either way, just got to do you, keep sending out your music and see where life takes you.
Yeah, as long as you don't stop, then you are not losing. So definitely agree with what you just said. Now, do you also compose and produce your own songs, or do you have someone else that you collab with to help you get your music projects out?
So I always start my songs from scratch, and from the songwriting, from the lyrics to the production, and then I send it off to my engineer. Shout out to Curtis Haddon. He's such an amazing producer who's helped me with basically all my songs that you've heard released so far. Like he believed in me from the start, and yeah, he's like my go-to guy now. But so he does everything like from the background, like because mixing, mastering, that's just a whole nother set of tools that I've got to learn, which I'm working on. But it's just so overwhelming as I've started production just last year. And yeah, even he's like helping me clean up my production. But other than that, yeah, I do everything from scratch.
And you have that pop sound. And what would you say is the most exciting part of the process when you are creating a song from scratch?
I would say The pop sound just kind of comes more naturally because I do listen to the top 100 songs a lot in the pop charts. And from then, it's just the sound just develops from my like love from other genres and like also from me not wanting to stick in that one genre because I like to learn about so many other things. And it just kind of develops on its own. Like if I'm inspired by something, I'll kind of get the idea and then I'll mash it up with like my other inspirations and it just kind of all forms together.
And speaking of inspiration, by the way, we're talking to Don Mai on I Am Focus Radio. Speaking of inspiration, you have that in your lyrics with your songs, with so many songs you have out there right now. What is it that you are trying to get what kind of message are you trying to get across for the listeners when they are tuning in into your songs?
Yeah, I just want to create songs that are memorable and catchy. So I hope that when they listen to my song, they can relate to it in some way and hopefully it brings them back to a situation that they've been in before. And it's just kind of cool when people's like, oh, wow, this person's been through that before. I'm also in through that right now. And then they just kind of make it like their anthem for like how they're feeling at that type of moment. And it's the best feeling hearing that from people that they can relate to my songs. Cause yeah, I feel like as musicians, we are able to create something like another form of expression for not only ourselves, but for other people as well.
And talk a little bit about your location. Refresh our audience again. Where are you from again?
So I'm in Melbourne, Australia.
What is it like out there as far as the music scene? What are they creating as far as what you're able to observe?
Yeah, the music scene over here is great. Unfortunately, after the pandemic, it's been not as great because I saw on the news yesterday or 2 days ago, officially we're like the city who's been in the most lockdown days around, like in the whole world. I think it's like 230 something days now, which is pretty crazy. But fortunately enough, it's given me time to make as much music and to improve my craft as I can. So I'm really like going full throttle at the moment. But as in terms of sounds, it's just so diverse. We have so many different types of genres. Like you'll hear, like you can go to any type of bars and just different gigs. And it's just really cool over here.
And have you ever collabed with anybody on your music outside Australia?
Yes, I'm actually currently working on a single with my friend Modality. It's a pretty funny story how I met him. I was in the US like 4 years ago. We went at an Ed Sheeran concert. He had his Ed Sheeran guitar, I had mine. And we just started jamming and then now we're both serious musicians. And yeah, it's really cool to be working with someone who, you've just met spontaneously and who we both feel the same passion about music for.
And that's the cool part of just being a creative person. You have that flexibility to just, oh yeah, that's a cool idea, let's do that. Now, how do you process your ideas? Do you just randomly say, oh man, I got this idea pop in my head, I need to go and get in the studio? How do you organize your inspirations for your ideas?
A good tool that I've found, like I can't remember what video exactly, but on YouTube, I was just seeing how to songwrite, or I was watching someone songwrite, and they always had their their phone on them, and they were like, just any idea you have, just record it into your phone. And I've just learned how to do that ever since. Like any tiny idea, as stupid as it may sound, because as a producer and songwriter, you can always develop it into something and make it sound like a fully produced song. And so if you look at my phone over the past, like since 2015 to 6 years, there'll always be these random, like low quality sound recordings and which make no sense. But then once you hear some of the songs that I've released today, it's like, oh, wow, it's turned from just that simple idea, from like this simple riff to this fully fledged out song. And so, yeah, that's mainly how I keep all my ideas. And it also makes good content as well from how people want to hear, like the demo version, because it sounds nothing like the fully produced version.
And once again, we are talking to Don Lai, and right here on I'm Refocused Radio. What excites you the most when you are sitting back, relaxing, and watching your songs grow, whether it's on social media or just looking at the stats on your Spotify profile? Like, what excites you the most when everything's done and you are able to see how people react to your songs?
Honestly, I try not to focus too much on how my song is doing. Like, I know, like, of course, I want success, but like, I feel like if get too caught up on it, it can bring me down. Because, like, if my songs don't get out there, if the stream's not doing well, it just kind of puts me not in a good mental state. So, of course, I want it to do well. And when the stream numbers do go up, I do get excited. Like, it's hard to hold that back. But um, yeah, I just do my best to, of course, promote it. But yeah, as a social media person, I try to promote it. I try to connect with fans, but I just also try not to wrap my head too much on how well the song's doing.
And that makes sense because there are people who are just very, very particular about, how many plays my game, how many plays I get today, this week, this month. And then there are others who is maybe a smidge of that, but it's also more so the focus of the passion of just making music. You as an artist, what is more important? You kind of touched on it, but what is more important to you as an artist when it comes to your music being heard?
Yeah, so I try to find a fine line. Like I was saying, I don't focus on the success of it, but of course, the goal is to reach it out to as many people as I can and hopefully connect with them. But yeah, like it's just so mentally stressing to worry about streams and stuff. So it's always just that hard line of like wanting to get your music out there, wanting to connect to fans, but also not dwelling on how well your songs are doing at the moment.
And I've noticed that you have received blog placements and stuff like that. What is that process like? Because I know someone who might be listening who's just getting started with their personal music, they may want to know some ideas. How do you get blog placements? How do you get people to pay attention to your work as far as the media goes?
So I feel I would recommend people building up their repertoire at first because it's always people who've just started who that's like when you feel the most pressure and the most down if your first single is doing well. People have just got to remember that, your first single most likely isn't going to blow up. Like that is just the story for many musicians. Like people like hear someone blow up on the radio and they think it's like, oh, wow, that's their first song to blow up. But that's like years of work who's just like compiled all into one, like it's just constantly building up your skills, your repertoire, your story, your branding. And, you'll eventually get to a point where people are interested in you because you have your story, you have your repertoire, and you just got to keep on working. Like it's a marathon, not a race.
Yeah, that's a good quote right there. That's a good quote. Now, once again, Don Mai here on Army Focus Radio. Before we let you go today, what are some of your short-term goals personally for new music and as far as what you want to see yourself doing in the near future?
So I'm currently on about 80 followers on Spotify. I'm hoping to get that to 300 by June next year. So yeah, just many steps,
Oh, that's awesome. That's a very, that's a nice step to push yourself? And because I think you can get like 300 way before next year. I mean, you can probably get 300 in 30 days. I mean, because anything can happen. Because like you said, you was talking before, building that relationship and connection with different people and just being there. Like sometimes it's just being present. A lot of times we don't become present enough online or in person, and we just miss out on opportunities. So you never know. You probably get 300 after this interview. I mean, who knows? Anything can happen. But once again, I'm gonna let you have the floor. What would you like to tell our listeners, whether it's about your music or anything you have coming up?
So my next single is coming out on the 22nd of October. It'll be called Stay the Night, and it's a song about catching feelings for our friends with benefits. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And yeah, just can't, it'll be a very new sound I have. Like I'm constantly evolving my sound, picking up new genres. So this will also be another song that people haven't heard before. And I just want to say thank you so much, Shemaiah, for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, no worries, man. Thank you for coming on and telling us your story. So how can people follow you on Instagram and any other place that they can see you active?
So all on my social media accounts, it's DONMAII with no spaces. And yeah, you'll be able to find it there.
Awesome. Well, once again, we're talking to Don Mai here on I Am Refocused Radio. I want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for talking to us today.
Thank you so much, Shemaiah. It was an absolute pleasure.